Welcome back to Idaho Today. Family and divorce law can be tricky, especially since the law is different from state to state. So you want to make sure that you have the experts on your side to help you navigate this tricky topic. So we have Joe Frick from Idaho Divorce Law Firm to give us some advice on divorce law here in Idaho. Joe, it's so great to have you here on the show with such important information.
Yep.
I know that this is something that's not, intuitive to a lot of people, right?
Yeah, most people only go through it once, sometimes more, but
yeah. But this is information people really need to have. So let's start with, what are some of the biggest things that people need to keep in mind when getting ready for a divorce?
Well, the longer people are married, the more complicated it's going to be, just because they generally, acquire more things. But, generally the things that they need to keep in mind are, the finances, the children, and your debts. So when you're talking about the finances, you're going to have to be dealing with the single income versus dual income that they've been used to, so how they're going to move forward from there. If there's children involved, it's always going to be more complicated, especially if you want to move, because if they want to move out of state or out of the community that they're in, it's going to be kind of difficult if the other parent doesn't, agree with that.
Yeah.
And as far as the property goes, the more property you're going to have, the more complicated it's going to be, because all that stuff has to be divided, and that includes furniture, the kids' stuff, business if you have it, cars, retirement accounts. Pretty much everything that you have is going to have to be split during the divorce process. Mm-hmm. So just getting an itemization of all that stuff really helps from the beginning.
Okay, all right, so you already kind of talked about making sure that you're itemizing things. Mm-hmm. What are some of the other things people need to know about preparing for the process of divorce?
It's really separating things, right?
Okay.
So especially if they own a house, it's going to be difficult to separate the house if both people want to keep it. So itemizing it, getting ready to think about how everything's actually going to be divided with the property, who's going to get the kids and when is going to be a big determination about how you're going to move forward, whether you're going to stay in the same community, whether you're going to move out of that community, whether that's a different county or state, is going to be a big decision that they're going to have to think about. Mm-hmm.
So the more assets a couple shares, obviously the more planning that's going to need to take place.
Yes.
Okay. Are there any misconceptions around divorce?
There's a lot of misconceptions around divorce. One of the biggest ones that we hear all the time is once a child hits a certain age that they get to choose which parent to live with, which is really not correct. When the court's looking at who gets the kids and when during the divorce, or just a child custody case, the child's preference is going to get taken into account, but there's not a bright line that if the kid turns 14, then he gets to pick which parent to live with. It's just one of the factors. There's the parent's choice comes into play, whether there's domestic violence comes into play, how long the kids have been in the community. All those things come into play. So when the kid hits a certain age, that doesn't mean they get to choose which parent to live with.
Okay, it's just a factor of things that are considered in the process of deciding who gets custody or what type of custody of your children.
Correct.
Got it, okay. And are there different laws per state, especially when it comes to child custody?
There are a lot of different laws. Each law has their own specific way they go about it, but it's generally in the child's best interests.
Okay.
But one of the big differences with Idaho versus other states is if you do want to move out of the community, you're going to have to show that that move is actually in the child's best interest, the move itself. So if you're planning on moving out of the community or to a different state, you have a lot bigger burden, a lot bigger battle to go at if you're wanting to move. Okay,
all right. So that's definitely something for people who are new to Idaho, new to the community, that are facing this life situation. Yes. Really need to sit down and consider.
Right.
And then obviously, you're talking about itemizing, you're talking about custody of kids. These are very difficult things to navigate and can be very challenging. And there's going to be some, need for help with that communication.
Yes.
Is that why it's really important to make sure you have a good lawyer?
Yes, we actually have to come in after the fact when people do it pro se on their own, and then we get these judgments that they've put together. Some of them are okay, a majority of them are not, and we have to clean up everything because it's not clear.
Yeah.
So if you have a good attorney at the very beginning, they can walk you through what everything looks like and achieve your goals and what you're looking for your future. Because like I said, if you want to move, if you want to get certain assets over other ones, there's certain strategies that you have to put in place from the very beginning to, ensure that you have the best possible, result at the end of the day.
Yeah, I like that, best possible result, right? Like, this is already an incredibly challenging process, legally, obviously, what we're hearing here, but also emotionally and personally.
Yes.
And to have as much help as you can up front, I can imagine, is just incredibly valuable to make sure that it's as smooth as possible for everybody involved, especially your kids too, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So where can people go so they can learn more from you and then get your advice and your help?
So if you want to learn more from us, get a free consultation, you can go to idaho-divorcelawyer.com or call us at 208-218-8858.
Wonderful. Joe, thank you so much. Really appreciate this very important information.